Serum, made by Game Island, coming out May 23rd. Dave, this is another game you're probably going to have to take over.
Okay. Does this look exciting at all to you?
It's very interesting. I'll put it up
That's
that way. Yeah,
that's why.
it's not a game that I would like. Oh, I'm gonna jump on and play this game instantly. It's a game that really like piqued my interest, but I don't know if it's got my interest enough to like buy it and play it. If that makes sense. So I'm gonna throw up the trailer if that's cool with you.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and throw up the trailer. And this, guys, this is a game. So typically, I'm not really interested in this style of game, but when I looked at it, it just looked so interesting. And what we're looking at is a pretty. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty generic post-apocalyptic world, which I mean has been just done over and over. But if you're just listening, what we're looking at right now is this guy is I'm assuming the main character,
Yep.
and on his chest he has like these little vials of what is the serum. And the really interesting part of this game to me was that he plugged this thing into his arm, and his arm had this like countdown clock on it, and it basically he just like keeps injecting into it, and when he injects into it, like right now we're watching his eyes glowing green, and then he's fighting like this wild boar. I think the concept behind it is really, really interesting, that you're gonna have basically what this is like a survival like adventure game, but it feels like it's gonna have like a time kind of like
Element to
aspect
it.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like a time element to it, which I think is really interesting.
I agree, and I think that's why I thought it was really cool because, like you said, generic looking at first, and then you really get into the trailer. You see him injecting himself with the serum to give himself more time to survive, and that's kind of the whole premise of the game. Is you're stuck in this fog, this toxic fog, and to survive, you must brew the serum, and the serum can be harvested, like the resources needed from animals and plants and things like that. And so then you have to brew your serum, if that makes sense. And where the time comes into play is when you inject yourself, it gives you additional time to survive. Kind of like what's that Justin Timberlake movie?
That's what I was talking about, dude. I could not remember the name of that Justin Timberlake movie where their time was like a bank on their arm. Like that's how they got paid, with time before they would die.
Right. I'll look it up as you keep talking. So
Yeah, but I think the idea of it is really interesting, and they might have just honestly kind of stolen that idea from the movie, but I think it's something that I haven't seen in games before. And a lot like Adam said about the serum, the cool thing about the serum is that the serum itself affects the DNA of life forms, and changes not only their appearance and their behavior. So it's like you're gonna see some very familiar things in this game, like we saw the the warthog and stuff like that, but we also saw some like very different style things. There was like,
yeah, that really like tall thing coming out from the background.
yeah, so they're saying that you're going to be able to combat like the mutated wildlife, and when we saw in the trailer that you're going to be able to combat humanoids. So it feels like if you've used the serum like too much, you kind of turn into this like humanoid kind of zombie style thing. So you're going to be fighting people too. And then there's these huge biome bosses, which I'm a huge fan of. And I don't know if that's just because of the way that it affects the DNA or whatever like that, but it created these really huge bosses, and I'm really interested to have that type of like gameplay in a game like this, because it's not typically something that you see in like a survival kind of action RPG. Like, I don't want to call it an RPG.
It's like an adventure survival game.
Yeah, like like an adventure survival game. You don't really see these like huge like kind of bosses that are, I'm a huge fan of. But the serum itself too, the cool thing about it is that not only do you need it to increase your time and stuff like that and stay alive, but the serum itself actually has effects on you where you gain like new skills and abilities every time you kind of hit this certain, they call it a mutation level. Yeah, so you have to use the serum a certain amount of times. But the really interesting thing about that too is that once you hit these skill levels and these like mutation plateaus, they say that you get the skills. So you get cool skills like the night vision is one, like silent walking is one. But they're saying that the skills come with side effects, and they don't tell you like what those are. So it's like you could hit this new plateau and get a really cool skill, but then also some weird stuff can start to happen. You know what I mean? And that's why I think like the humanoids are people that injected the serum too much. Like, yeah, like the side effects like got to them.
I wonder if it's like a give and take. Once you reach this threshold, let's say you get the night vision, but let's say you move slower. Like maybe you get to pick one, like either like you move faster, you know what I mean? Things like that. Like it's a give and take. Once you reach this threshold, well, you lose this ability, or this is what is your negative side effect, or now the serum's not as effective. You inject yourself, you don't get as much time. Things like that.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It's like a Clayface situation, right? So like the more that you use the serum, the less effective it gets. So like the first time you inject the serum, you get like 10 minutes on your arm. But then like the 40th time you do it, it's like, dude, I just injected that. I only got 30 seconds. Like, you know what I mean? Something crazy like that. I just think it's kind of an interesting idea. And I don't really have anything about the game that's like, visually or like gameplay wise that looks, anything out of the ordinary. This is going to be a Steam drop. But I just think the idea behind it is something really creative.
And we've been talking about the last couple weeks is like, what are these game developers doing to set themselves apart? Like you said, maybe not the gameplay mechanics or the visuals, but the idea and the mechanics of what they're putting into the game is what's setting them apart. And I totally agree with you. This is different than a lot of other survival games. And one thing I did see with it, I don't know if you saw this, but the serum can help also expand your safe zone. I don't know. So like essentially like the serum can give you like a bubble of clean air and things like that, I think. Is that what it means?
What I saw is kind of exactly what you were saying. It's like you are it's almost like I don't want to say undetectable, but it's almost like a stealth mode is what I kind of saw, where it's like the serum just kind of expands around you and it makes you like less noticeable to, so it's not like constantly you're not constantly getting bombarded with things that are trying to kill you. Like it kind of gives you this little buffer of like, okay, you're less detectable. You're pretty safe right here if you need to just chill out for a second.
See, I thought what it was you have your safe zone where like you put serum into like this generator and that like blankets you. But okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that I mean, I could be totally wrong, but that's kind of
Yeah.
what I saw.
Hmm.
And I thought it was just a really interesting idea. And there is some gameplay up right now of people that have played, the that
Early
believe
access
yeah,
and
they've had
developer
early
play.
access. And the game itself looks really interesting. Like they have videos up of people playing this for like 3 hours. And I watched a bunch of it and I was like, this just looks really cool. Just looks like a really cool game. Something I'm not typically interested in, which is why I brought it up. But it kind of gives me like Fallout vibes.
So is it story based? Like you think like you uncover the secrets and it's gonna say, oh, this is where the fog's coming from, or this is what happened in the past? Like, what do you think it is?
So this is going to be very story based, in my opinion, because, like I said, people have played a little bit of this gameplay, and the intro of this game is actually really kind of compelling, right? And I don't want to give away too much, but the story behind it is like it's almost kind of sad, right? So the opening that I saw is basically you're listening to a phone conversation that this guy had with his wife, and in the moment he is not with his wife and family, and I believe it was a son, but the son was sick, and he's basically in this area. He's like his son is like getting treatment for some type of sickness. He's gonna go back to where he is to be with his family to like be part of this treatment. He just says, I just needed to have a quick surgery to fix the time clock in my arm, which apparently is like not a huge deal at all. And then what happens is he just kind of wakes up in this tunnel and everything has gone just awry. So like yeah, and like if you look in the trailer that we just watched, he's got like the pictures that like his kid drew in there and like notes from his wife and like letters and stuff like that. So I think this is gonna have like a much deeper story than people actually kind of think. Yeah, so I'm excited for that. It just feels like they've I don't know. It feels like they put a lot of attention to detail in this to craft like a really great idea, with a really great story, and it just for whatever reason just hasn't really gotten a lot of noise, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a smaller developer, I think, and that's part of it. But yeah, I agree. It looks really fun. It looks interesting. I don't know if it's a game I'm gonna like drop in and play right away, but definitely has my attention, and I'll probably, maybe, who knows? Maybe I'll review this one.
I'm super excited for this one because I think it's going to be something really kind of special. I'm definitely going to check it out, especially now that I have a Steam account and I'm a PC gamer. It will be dropping May 23rd on Steam. I cannot imagine that this is going to be a very expensive title. Definitely not a AAA cost of $70. So, yeah, I will be checking this one out. I'm kind of excited for it.